Hi everyone, Chef Brew here. I'd like to walk you through a very important optical illusion that is part of our everyday life, and it affects everything from the state of our current politics, the state of our environment, the state of our economy, the state of our minds. So let's do this real quick. Let's begin. I call it the Martian separation story, universe-sized optical illusion. Now watch this. So here we have our solar system. Now we see Mars in the fourth layer, which is a higher layered ring than layer 3, where Earth is. But it's not a sweet spot 3 layer. The multiples of 3 are always the magical layer, if you will. That's why basically our solar system is a big old desert of minerals and elements. But Earth is this oasis full of all sorts of things. Well, likewise, every third multiple, which includes Saturn and Pluto, are ever increasing sweet spots for ever increasing life and consciousness. Okay, so while Mars is a higher consciousness than Earth, it's not a multiple of 3. It's not Saturn. So Mars has been here for millennia, controlling everything on Earth. I call this a universe-sized optical illusion caused by Martian mind control. Just bear with me, follow this, okay? This is all stuff that is made visible by LTHS EOS 1.1 and now soon to be released 2.0. So let's walk you through how this optical illusion works. Here you have our solar system. Not just a solar system. This solar system happens to overlay perfectly with the layers in LTHS. Layers 0 through however many layers you want to take it. In this case, up through layer 9. Next, we frame it in LTHS EOS 1.1. Reframing it now transforms these planets into planetary story antennas of story frequencies. The moon, lunar versions of these story antennas. Comets, satellite versions of these story antennas. The same goes for asteroids or any particles or dusts or vapors out in space. Elements, an elemental form of the same story frequency antennas. Molecules, same thing, molecular forms of these story frequency antennas. That includes us, cellular and multicellular forms of these same story frequency antennas, spinning and orbiting and expanding through space. And as we push through space, as we push through time, what we call time, these antennas pick up the invisible stories that are layered within their paths. And they receive them, transmit them, and generates all of this. Much like being in a video game. And once we learn this, much like being in a video game, we can take control of this entire computing game, if you will. So now, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question that we will now solve using our own expanding human story consciousness, which takes us far beyond Mars's reach. Martian minds have a hard time understanding Saturn and Pluto consciousness. These are consciousnesses that are based on harmony, freedom, on much greater things, based on progress. These are things based on collaboration, not competition, a unified self-sense, but a unified and universal view as well, and a knowledge of how all that maps and fits into a universal computing architecture. You can see where that leads us. So now, I ask you, How big, how expensive of a telescope would we need to build to spot this story world? Or how big, how expensive, how high-tech of a particle collider do we need to build to spot this story world? How advanced and how big and how far reaching of a satellite to spot this story world? I'm asking. If you've got an answer, I want you to put it in the comments. How big, how expensive of an MRI machine to spot the story world? Well, and then how big, how advanced, how destructive and terrifying of a weapon to protect against a story world attack? The answers to all of these is no matter how big, no matter how advanced, no matter how expensive or how far-reaching the equipment is, it's not going to detect it yet. Because the story world is software, it's language. How do you see language with an X-ray or with a satellite? You have to sense it, detect it in its higher forms. You have to learn it. You have to discover it. And how do you do it? By observing behaviors related to movements and events. And then you start deciphering the software. Then we can write it down. Then we can draw it. Then we can do a whole lot of things with it. But it's not through a telescope. It's not through an MRI. It's not through military weapons and evilness that we best leverage the universe to do the work we want it to do for us. So I'll leave that with you today as we approach many important events in 2020. Have a great day.